Welcome to Rehash, a Web3 podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rehash, a Web3 podcast. I'm your host, Diana Chen, and in this episode we'll be talking all about DAO formation, about social DAOs, about building DAO community, about structuring DAOs, all things DAOs with Kseniya and Nich, contributors to Meta Gamma Delta DAO. Kseniya is also a co-founder of Upstate Interactive, a women-led agency acquired by Foundry, where she now runs strategy. And Nich works at 1KX, an early-stage crypto fund. So I'm really excited to speak with them and get their knowledge and expertise and experiences from a wide array of different projects that they've been part of. So welcome, Kseniya and Nich. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Yeah, great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So before we dive into all things Meta Gamma Delta, for listeners who aren't familiar with the two of you, could you both give some background into what you were doing before Web3 and how you initially got exposed to crypto and got interested? And maybe we'll start with you, Kseniya.
Yeah, so I got into the space in 2017. At the time, I was running my tech consultancy, Upstate Interactive, with my business partners. We had started the company just a year prior in 2016, and we were building traditional web and mobile applications. And then in 2017, my business partner and I learned about Bitcoin and got interested in it around the same time. We had a couple of friends who were mining Ethereum. I was like, what do those words mean? What is mining? What is Ethereum? So started doing research, learned about Bitcoin, read The Internet of Money by Andreas Antonopoulos, who's a pretty prolific speaker in the Bitcoin space. And that book and his speeches really spoke to the why of blockchain technology. It just kind of blew my mind. All the potential use cases of the technology was just so exciting. That was right before the run at the end of 2017. So the market just went up, which was a really exciting time as well. And then 2018, when we, hit crypto winter, that was a really good time to learn and to build. So I started learning Solidity, learning how to build smart contracts to deploy on top of Ethereum. And the rest of the company got on board, and we decided it was an industry that we should focus in. So we started marketing ourselves as smart contract engineers and started working with clients. And for that first year and a half, it was myself and one of my business partners, and we were doing all the smart contract work for our clients. It was a really fun, busy year. And then when the space took off, and I guess it was 2020 or 2021, we just had so many incoming leads, just a lot of people knocking on our door, needing that skill set of building smart contracts. So we started growing the team, training our Web 2 engineers to learn Solidity, trained our front end engineers to learn Web 3, to connect the front end to the smart contracts, and really just pivoted our entire business to focus in the Web 3 space, which was really exciting. We started taking on bigger projects, worked on all the kind of popular ones. So DeFi apps, NFT projects, we did some DAO work. Of course, I discovered the DAO space at ETH Denver and joined Meta Gamma Delta. So I've been involved with that for the past couple years. And like Diana, you mentioned, most recently, about a month ago, Upstate Interactive shut down because we were acquired by Foundry. So now I'm the VP of Decentralized Strategy and Engineering over at Foundry. I've been saying I've just kind of been able to get out of my Ethereum bubble because Foundry is blockchain agnostic. So they're working with many different protocols. So that's been really exciting to just learn about different kind of blockchains. But yeah, that's enough about me. I'll let Nich give her intro.
That's so cool that you were able to take what you were doing in Web 2 and port it over to Web 3. I think a lot of people feel like they have to start over and do something new when they go into Web 3. And I just think it's super cool that your whole story ties together so well from, the beginning of Upstate Interactive until today. I think that's super cool. And then what about you, Nich? What's your background and how did you get into this space?
Yeah, so similar to Kseniya, I got into the space around 2016, 2017. I was working in San Francisco at a startup at the time as a tech recruiter. So not even like a developer or anything, just like recruiting engineers and data scientists for a startup there. And some of the people, they were already talking about like Bitcoin, Ethereum, but I didn't really get it until one day Naval Ravikant, who was one of the angel investors for the startup I was working at, came in for a fireside chat. And like the topic came up, and that was kind of the first time that, hearing about the potential of like smart contracts and how we can like program ownership and, align incentives so that the products and communities we built are still like working for the users and the people who are contributing value, as opposed to against them. So yeah, that's when I decided to, like read more about it, fell into the rabbit hole, and started just blogging about the technology, Bitcoin and Ethereum in particular. So it was just like mainly technical like content at the time. There wasn't a lot of actual products beyond just sending BTC and like a few tokens. And just was really lucky to have educators or people who I followed content wise to be people like Andreas Antonopoulos, like Naval and all this. It was kind of like before the hype with all the like people shilling ICOs and everything. So I think through writing and through sticking to the fundamentals, I kind of like was able to stay interested when we hit the bear market in 2018, and that was when I decided to make like a career like change into the space. So I was living we from San Francisco, and I was living in Bangkok at the time. I was working at this innovation center and throwing a lot of hackathons and like developer kind of education events, and a lot of like the early projects at the time, like Maker, Gnosis, Status, Bounties Network, Umisego, was in Thailand at the time, like doing these educational kind of developer events. So it was like really lucky to be surrounded by a good community there. And then around 2018, CryptoKitties had just came and blew up Ethereum and went. But like NFT is really stuck with me. So I decided to, work on an NFT project back in 2018. And because there was a lot of developers at the time, and also we couldn't afford the people who were, I decided to enroll in Consensus Developer Bootcamp and like learn Solidity to like build out this NFT like project, and was working on that for like two years until 2020. And then that was when I met the people at MGD, and I actually met Kseniya through MGD and actually ended up transitioning into being like a freelance smart contract engineer with Upstraight Interactive. So that was like one of the biggest like impact that MGD has had on my life, really. Yeah, and then like continued writing, continued like doing articles. That's how 1KX found me. Like Peter Pan like reached out, and we had known each other through like Meta Cartel and MGD as well. So that's what I'm doing now at 1KX, just doing platform support stuff and also like publishing research articles and content on like investment memos on the projects that we invest in.
That is so cool. So you both mentioned 2020 was when Meta Gamma Delta was formed. I believe it was at ETH Denver in 2020 was when a group of 3 women initially had this idea for Meta Gamma Delta, which was essentially a parody sorority, right? So you've got the Greek letters, and it's kind of a making fun of how this world of crypto is so male dominated, and here you have this female sorority type group. So tell me more about the genesis story of MGD and how it's changed over time, because I know what it started as isn't exactly what it is today 2 years later. So Kseniya, could you share a little bit about that genesis story and how you've seen MGD evolve over the last 2 years?
Yeah, I actually love telling this story because, like you said, it was 3 women who started MGD at ETH Denver in 2020. I was there. I remember seeing Juliana Mani and Sydney, and I hadn't met them at that point, but later that weekend, I was talking to someone from Meta Cartel, and I was talking about how I was going to start my own female DAO. And he let me know that, oh, well, these girls just did. They just, launched or summoned Meta Gamma Delta just a few hours ago. So I think I pledged that day and joined MGD, which was really fun along with Zaji. She was there in that conversation. So even though I wasn't a summoner, I was, member number 4 within a couple hours of the DAO getting spun up. But yeah, like you said, it was kind of a parody sorority DAO. So it was about building a community, like an inclusive community, a space where women, could join and be part of this DAO ecosystem. Because at that time, Meta Cartel was doing really great things. I believe they had a few women, but it was mostly men. So we just wanted to provide that kind of opportunity for women to join in a comfortable kind of environment. And we still have that, right? Like it's still mostly women. We still want to provide that inclusive and kind of empowering society for women. But we did start to focus more on the grants giving initiative. So, raising funds and distributing the funds out to women-led projects in the space. So we went with the sorority theme for a while. We did, I think, an alpha class project, and the idea was that we would onboard new members in these like waves of classes, and each class would do a certain project. But we kind of, I don't know, fell off, and we just did a traditional, join and submit a proposal, and then you'll get voted in. So that kind of dissipated. But we continued, like I said, the inclusive environment, providing community for women, allowing women all across the globe to join, this DAO and learn what it is to be part of a DAO, and be part of the process of raising money and giving out funds to women-led projects. So yeah, it's been a really fun ride. It's great to see that we're still around, and great to see all the new, female-led DAOs in the space that have been summoned since the time MGD has.
I think something that a lot of people don't know too is when they hear Meta Gamma Delta, it kind of clicks with most people that this is, some sort of sorority-esque type thing. But I think a lot of people don't realize how robust of a back end MGD has as well. So I'm curious, at what point did it shift from we're just trying to curate a community of women in Web3 here to we want this to be a real DAO, however you want to define that, which for MGD, you're using DAOhaus and following that Moloch DAO model. And I'm curious, like, what is a Moloch DAO? And we had a previous episode with Spencer Graham from DAOhaus, and he explained more in detail, but just like a really quick TLDR about what is Moloch DAO and why did MGD choose to use the Moloch DAO model to set up their DAO?
So I think it was just like a natural progression, because like our friends in the ecosystem who was like supporting MGD from the inception was a lot of people who are from like Metacartel, Raid Guild, DAOhaus, people who are building these tools. And they're big proponents of Moloch, which is a DAO framework that basically allows you to like spin up a shared treasury, and then like each member can, pledge a certain amount of funds to the DAO, and that goes in the shared treasury. And, there's a way to retain sovereignty over your ownership over the organization should the community decide to make decisions that you disagree with. So that's like the rage quit mechanism. At the time, it wasn't even DAOhaus, it was like Pokemon was the front end for us to interact with, like membership onboarding and voting and stuff. And, the guys from Raid Guild and DAOhaus pretty much like were very supportive all the way through. And it was like feature wise, it was exactly what we needed in terms of like, okay, how can we instantiate ourselves without having too many features or too many, things that we don't need to deal with. And DAOhaus was kind of like the perfect front end for it. There was some, lingo and kind of UI to get used to, but after that, it gave us everything we need, and we're still on DAOhaus today, doing operations and member onboarding and grants giving and things like that.
Yeah, another thing I'm curious about too is I know nowadays it's really expensive to use mainnet on DAOhaus and probably not advisable for most organizations. If I'm not mistaken, I believe MGD is on mainnet on DAOhaus. When you made the decision to be on mainnet, was it just not that expensive at the time, or why did you decide to use mainnet, and have you shifted away from that now since gas has exploded and it's pretty costly to do really basic things?
Honestly, like I don't remember the timelines of when, the side chains and L2s came into fruition. But at the time, I think a lot of these DAOs were on mainnet. So I can't remember when Polygon was launched, right? So at the time we launched on mainnet because that's kind of what everyone in the community was doing. Gas prices weren't as much. But we did, yes, end up pivoting because I believe it was later that year gas prices were completely out of control. And so even to submit a proposal for a member to join or to submit a proposal for a project to get funding, it was costing us like, I remember at one time I tried to submit a proposal and it was going to be $800 in gas fees, in ETH gas fees. So we ended up launching on Polygon. So I think Nich was involved in that initiative to make it easier for us to submit proposals and submit transactions for funding projects. So yes, we still are on mainnet, but we do a lot of our work on the Polygon chain. So all of our newer members, they join the Polygon chain. Yeah, and I know that DAOhaus also just recently was launched on Optimism. So there are going to be other opportunities for different L2s and different side chains where people can interact with DAOs because, like you said, it has gotten to be really expensive to do it on mainnet.
Yeah, and just because both of you are technical, I want to ask another follow-up to that, which is there are so many side chains or L2s now that people can use aside from mainnet. Say somebody is launching a new DAO on DAOhaus and they're trying to decide whether to launch on Optimism or mainnet or Polygon. From your view, what should they be thinking about? What factors should go into their decision of which one to launch on? And I think something that a lot of people don't think about is that each chain kind of has their own culture and their own community too. And so, yeah, I would just love to hear your thoughts on how to decide which sidechain or L2 now that there's so many that a DAO should launch on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a practical decision, like depending on what the goals of your DAO are and what are the main kind of functions that you're going to be doing interactions on. So the main reason we chose Polygon was because gas costs were prohibitive for new members to pledge on mainnet. And, it doesn't make sense if our pledge is like 10 DAI and like they have to spend hundreds of dollars in gas to submit the proposal. At the time, the tooling for Polygon was, there was a lot of options for people to like bridge or onboard to the chain from fiat using things like Ramp Network. The choice was like as frictionless as possible for people to onboard onto the L2. So yeah, it depends on like who your users are and how comfortable they'll be doing that, and also what your DAO is doing. So like the more kind of heavy like fund management, fund moving is on still on mainnet. We haven't bridged like large amounts to Polygon or anything like that. So like in terms of member onboarding, we're doing it on Polygon, but like we still give out grants, and like when we're like transferring a lot of tokens, that's still like coming from our mainnet guild bank.
Gotcha. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the community side of MGD because that's something that you guys do super well. I'm curious, what is MGD's philosophy on community building, and what does MGD do specifically to foster community amongst like new members who join?
One thing that was really important to us from the beginning was really lowering the barrier to entry of joining a DAO. So a lot of DAOs that existed at the time had a higher pledge amount, which makes it unfeasible for some people to join because at that time I didn't have 10 ETH, or to join Meta Cartel I think it was 10 ETH. So we wanted to make the barrier to entry low. We made our pledge amount 10 DAI, so $10, in order to encourage people to join the DAO. Encourage women to join the DAO, to help women who maybe weren't in the space have an easier time of joining the DAO, even though it's not easy, right? Even to have 10 DAI in your MetaMask wallet requires a lot of steps, right? You have to set up, let's say, a Coinbase account, purchase the crypto, send it to your MetaMask. So we wanted to provide like a learning opportunity and a low barrier of entry for people to be able to join. We really wanted to create, this kind of inclusive environment to make people who were maybe newer to the space feel welcome. So we provided a lot of support for new members to be able to join. And then once they did join, we wanted to create a community where they could ask questions and feel comfortable and feel like they could make an impact pretty quickly in this new space.
Yeah, I think we were fortunate to have launched into an environment where like the ecosystem wasn't too noisy when it comes to DAO. So like at the time, like we had the kind of freedom and attention span to like experiment with a lot of different community onboarding and member onboarding initiatives. So the sorority meme was actually what drew me into the space. Like we launched like right after, or like right at the start of the pandemic. I think I was at NFT NYC at the time, and that was like my last trip before the pandemic, and so was ETH Denver. So I was like spending a lot of time on Twitter, and that's how I discovered MGD. But yeah, so I think the sorority thing helped us a lot because it was like almost like a one-to-one like analogous to what you would go through when you're pledging a sorority, right? So we were doing cohorts, and like each cohort was onboarded, and they were kind of like this tight-knit group of like new members, and like they had to work on like a class project together. I think we submitted like a hackathon thing at the time to Dragon Hacks, which was something that Meta Cartel was running. We also did a DAO Rush Week with Niran from Penvala. So, like things like that it attracts like a close-knit kind of group of members who are already interested in the same things. Yeah, the cohort just really brought us together. And also we did things like built like a members directory where people can like put in, what they're working on and what they're interested in, so that people who came to the community looking for a specific type of support can go to that directory and kind of like reach out to whoever they need to. We did things like one-on-one, like virtual coffee chats, because we were on Slack at the time, and there's this bot called Donut that basically, randomly pairs you with like another member every week. So things like that. And I think the people who were like really involved in that in the beginning are the people who are still like a part of the DAO now, or like think back to Meta Gamma Delta whenever like there's an opportunity that they come across that would be relevant to us, right? So it's a very kind of the more you give, like the more you get out of it. And it's all kind of like been voluntary. But I think because we had that initial time, like without the noise and without the like DAOs launching every week kind of environment that we have now, we were able to like foster like a strong community and friendships with each other that way.
Do you think it also helped that you guys have a women-only community? Like, do you think it was easier for women to form these friendships with other women? And if yes, I guess the follow-up to that would be like, what are some things that you think other DAOs can learn from MGD and the way that you guys have fostered community and friendships that, other DAOs, even DAOs that aren't female only, can learn from and incorporate into their communities?
Yeah, great question. I definitely think the women only obviously helps attract more women. And so I always say, like, until we have diversity and gender in the space, the tech space, the crypto space, until we have like actual diversity there, we need these communities to allow people to join, because it's hard to join a DAO or an organization where it's all men and, no one looks like you. So to have that kind of safe space just makes it a little bit easier for people to join and those friendships to be formed. I think something that other DAOs can do is that like one-on-one connection. So not everyone is comfortable, hopping on a meeting and being loud or, taking initiative. Like some people just need that one-on-one collaboration. And so I think providing that kind of opportunity to meet other members of the DAO on an individual basis, I think could help foster relationships, help people to get to know each other on a more intimate level. So yeah, that's something that I believe other DAOs could take on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be like an intentional, conscious effort to increase diversity and kind of like onboard women into the space, right? Because like if you just leave it and like hope it happens organically because of the gender ratio imbalance that we have, like the default is just going to be like a group of guys. And so I think like even if a community did not like form with the specific purpose of increasing diversity like MGD, they can like create space for women who come in to be a part of the community to have a space like within the DAO to meet and connect and learn from each other, right? So I think Index Co-op is an example of a group who does this. So Index Co-op is like a DeFi protocol, but every week I believe they have like a woman focused like group to do it, and I don't even think it has to be like 100% exclusive to women, but it just has to be like the goal has to be like to onboard women or like to support women, right? And then like naturally you'll kind of like the people will congregate that way. So MGD is not, we're not like exclusive to women. We just have like a slightly higher barrier to entry for guys, which is 100 DAI. And we kind of like try to keep the member ratio in check to like, I don't know, I think 75-80% women, just to prevent it from just falling back to the default, which is like, I don't know, like 90-10 guys. Like 9-1.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I think those are really good takeaways. And an easy way is just to spin up like a women only channel in your Discord for any DAO or any community. And that gives women who are part of that DAO or community like a safe space to connect with other women and at least know that they're being, like if you take the effort to spin up a women only channel on Discord, at least you're making some effort and recognizing that this is something that you care about. So great takeaways. Switching gears a little bit. So over time, MGD has evolved from just a community, a fun social DAO to more of a grants DAO. And I'm curious now with all the grants that MGD is giving away, how does MGD identify which projects to give grants to? And what are some criteria that you guys focus on when deciding whether to give a grant to a project or not?
We make it pretty easy to get a grant. Like the criteria really is that you are it's a women owned or at least co-owned women led project, and it has to be building something in the blockchain space. So we funded DeFi projects, educational projects, so groups that are educating people or women in the space and trying to onboard more women. NFT projects, really anything again that's in the blockchain space and owned by a woman. And the way that we've been operating is, we have a grants committee that anyone from the DAO is welcome to join. We were meeting on a pretty regular basis, reviewing applications, looking at the ones that we would be interested in, that we thought that would make an impact, that we thought were like really pushing technology forward, really utilizing blockchain technology. And yeah, we would look through the applications, kind of filter them down, and then propose to the entire DAO the projects that we thought were the greatest fit. And then, of course, we went through the traditional like on-chain voting process, but before that, we did a bit of a soft consensus process. So yeah, I think we've awarded 10, maybe 10 projects over the past couple years. So yeah, it's been really exciting. We look forward to continuing to fundraising and funding women-led projects.
Can you share any of the names of projects you've funded in the past?
Yeah, so our first grantees were Good Ghosting, which is a DeFi protocol to do this social groups saving money together. I think they just raised a round, which is really good to see. The Defiant, which is a media company founded by Camila Russo, and Dada Art, which is an NFT crypto artist women's collective and artist community. And then more recently, we funded La Crypto, again, like an educational platform to onboard women into crypto, and Jovian, which is a research initiative to basically inform DAOs how they can be more conscious about their diversity efforts. And then I think we gave some hackathon prizes to the recent Chainlink hackathon winners as well.
Very cool. And then I'm curious too, like, does MGD seek grants from other organizations, or how does MGD get funded outside of just the 10 DAI that people pledge to join?
Yeah, we seek lots of sources for funding. So in the first year, we did like an internal fundraising round. So we went to members because, as I mentioned earlier, the pledge amount to join is so low, 10 DAI. We felt comfortable going to the members and trying to do an internal raise there. So we were able to raise funds that way. We've been participating in the Gitcoin grants rounds, so earn money that way. We have worked with Panbala, so we have earned Panbala. We're staking Panbala, so we're intimately involved in that group and get funding through there. We have applied for other grants. Meta Cartel, who has been very supportive of us since the beginning, has funded us with money. We are thinking about like sustainable ways to raise funds in the future. So going out for funding And, applying for grants is a lot of work. It takes a lot of manpower to do that. So we're thinking of ways where we could, invest the treasury and use interests earned from the treasury or from any like yield farming or DeFi strategies to use the yield earned on those DeFi strategies to fund the grant program. So thinking of more sustainable models where we could earn passive income and then use that income to fund grants is something that we're thinking about for the future.
Very cool. Yeah, I really like hearing about those creative ways because, like you said, it's a lot of manpower to apply for the grants every round. And with DeFi, there are a lot of tools at our disposal for how we can maintain the treasury over time in a very like little manpower way. Well, thank you guys both so much for coming on and talking about Meta Gamma Delta. I wrap up every podcast episode with a quick game. It's called This or That. So this is where I have two pairs of words. So I'll say like A or B, and you just pick which one you prefer. There's no explanation needed. It's just a lightning round. And I've got 10 pairs of words. So since there are two of you, we'll just take turns. We'll like maybe start with Kseniya and then go to Nich for everyone. So you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fun.
All right. So the first one is Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Ooh, Ethereum.
Nich?
Ethereum.
Okay. Second one, crypto or Web3?
Web3.
Crypto.
DeFi or DAOs?
DAOs.
DAOs.
Okay, nice. Bear market or bull market?
Bear.
Bear.
Oh, nice.
Good time to build.
Yeah. Well, next one, building or investing?
Building.
Yeah, building.
Okay, I thought this would be a tough one for Nich since you're at one.
It was.
Okay, next one, books or podcasts?
Books.
Podcasts.
TV or movies?
Movies.
Movies.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Beach.
Past or future?
Future.
Okay, and then last one, Earth or space?
Ooh, space.
Earth.
Okay, all right. You guys are kind of aligned on some of those, but let's see.
Like half.
Yeah, it's like half. So we're gonna all be building in a bear market at the beach. That's what we've gathered from this game. I'm down. I'm in. Let's make this happen. MGD retreat at the beach. Well, thank you guys so much. Before you go, just tell people where they can find you if they want to follow you personally, and then where they can go to learn more about MGD or maybe pledge MGD if they're interested in that. Kseniya, you want to start first?
So if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at @theonlyKseniya. And then to join Meta Gamma Delta, also look us up on Twitter. We have a link to our Discord there. Join the Discord, and then you'll get access to all of the information that you need to be able to join our calls and to be able to pledge.
Nich, where can people find you?
Reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at NichNanK. And yeah, just my Twitter is the best way.
Awesome. Hit them up on Twitter. We'll include your links in the show notes as well to make it easy for people. Thank you both again so much for taking the time to come on the podcast. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in, and we'll be back again soon with another episode of Rehash.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Rehash, a Web3 podcast. The guests from this episode, Kseniya and Nich, were nominated by Zaji and voted onto the podcast by Tim, Zach, and Diana. Some of the questions you heard were submitted by Zaji and Karsten. Rehash is hosted by Diana Chen, produced and edited by Ellie Dots and Tyler Internet, and as always, supported by Rehash DAO. To stay up to date on all things Rehash, you can follow us on Twitter at RehashWeb3 and join our Discord to get involved.